All right. Welcome back to the Istoria dev commentary. I'm here again with Windbreaker and Irons, and we had just gotten to Upstream, so gonna start exploring this. So right away, I've got a choice here.
Yeah, this is way safer than the way I usually do it.
Yeah. See,
Nope.
every time I die in this game, it's because I grenaded myself, pretty much. So unfortunately, I picked Rifleman, so you're gonna probably end up seeing that a lot.
So this level, I remember, didn't even used to have a save at the beginning, right? It was like kind of tucked away where it was very easy to miss
Oh yeah, it was like
over
over
there.
here or something.
Yeah, no one would ever look there for the first time.
Yeah, I experimented with a couple different locations. It was where work pointed out, and then it was I had put it at one point in that elevator that you went up at first. But it seemed like if I put it up there, a lot of people didn't see it at first, and then that encounter that you just had would kill a lot of people, or not. It would, it'd kill you, and then you'd have to go all the way back to the first level and go like halfway through that level. So that was not fun.
Kind of represents like I think an evolution of the general save point strategy. I know at first we were all kind of very worried actually about how easy this game might be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much new to this game with the spells, and everything that I really, felt like I was kind of, you know, it was a shot in the dark when I was when thinking about monster placements and how combat would work and everything because it's just you've got this whole extra arsenal to deal with. So that was definitely one of my concerns, and I think that almost made, that makes the scenario maybe a lot more aggressive than some other scenarios. I think it was Ryoko that had said he considers this a pretty challenging scenario, which
That's a red flag.
that's a yeah, exactly. I was like, damn, if you think it's hard, then it's got to be pretty challenging. So I
Yeah.
think
So the
since then we've done some stuff to make it a little less frustrating, maybe, and hopefully more enjoyable. But yeah,
I missed the elevator that was by that switch.
yeah, I can't remember why I took that out, but there was some reason.
Is it like a
Oh, I
technical?
remember. It was well, so this map is kind of designed to have a lot more forks in the road than the first map.
Right.
Um,
Like right
that was kind
here, I could choose to go that way, or I could choose to go this way. I'm kind of just
yeah,
mixing it all together, but
yeah, exactly. So there's like several different paths, um, and most of Historia was made in sequence. So this was the second level, and so I kind of wanted to contrast that with the linearity of the first level. But with all of these different routes you can take, that makes monster activations kind of a pain in the ass. So I remember I was just kind of struggling with different routes and how that would get you into a different space and how that would mess up an activation that worked really well for a different route. So that path just kind of annoyed me um, in terms of activations. And so I just took it out because I just didn't want to deal with it.
Makes sense. I still miss it.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
the texture is even there, like on the floor of it.
Oh, yeah. Is it still? That's funny.
Well, I think of it as an elevator texture.
Elevator
But
texture. Yeah.
speaking of monster placement, you guys worked together to do some new stuff with Lua to help with activate like finer grained activations, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. We made use of goal objects to kind of designate different activations or different polygons that would activate when another polygon was crossed over with a certain goal object. Um, and so it kind of allows for more variety in how you activate monsters, where they activate. You can put you can have a polygon be a zone border, or not, yeah, zone border, so monsters don't activate from traditional triggers. Um, and if you have them as blind and deaf, then you can set up these different goal objects to make it so that even if they're on that zone border, they will activate when you cross over a certain polygon. So just it allowed for a lot of variety in how you see set pieces start. Combat set pieces. But one thing, we work had kind of scripted that all out near the end of the process. I think it was either the eighth or ninth map when that was implemented. And so all of these first, couple of maps were made just with standard marathon activations. And after work had gotten that all set up in Wayland and everything, I went through and revised these old maps and kind of added some goal activations. So they all make use of the technology. But I think it was probably maybe kind of beneficial for us to not have that early on because I didn't have as much of an opportunity to just abuse it or get reliant on how it works. So I kind of think that ultimately ended up being a good thing. You still see a lot of just standard marathon, activations and set pieces here.
Yeah, I think that you really start to notice it, and I think it's fitting because you did tweak them a lot on Central Command, right?
Yeah. Central
So I think,
Command is a
yeah,
later map.
that's like the first one where I think you can really notice the difference, just because of
Yeah.
the streets and the way the battles play out there. Because before it was just like there were like two places really that activations happen. I would say they would all like chain, and it was like two gigantic battles instead of like minor battles. But we'll get to those. Um,
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
else you
Oh, go ahead.
mentioned is Wayland, right? So this actually was made using a very modestly customized version of Wayland.
Yeah, so work was able to kind of get in and modify the current map editing program that's used by most marathon community members. Wayland was written by Tree Llama, and he was able to kind of modify that uh, to add these goal, activation objects, and kind of make it make sense with the user interface. And that was really beneficial. Um, and also, to add monster icons so you can actually see on the map that it's a fighter or it's a trooper rather than just a red square like you would see in Forge back in the day or in Wayland. And that's really nice. And obviously, it's you know customized specifically to Istoria, so it's not like it's something that's suited for Infinity or just regular
Right.
um, content creation. But it was really handy. But funny enough, I mean that was implemented at the same time as the goal spawn, so um, I was dealing with those red triangles for like 8 maps, until we got that set up. But it made revision really, really handy, right? Because by the time I was revising the first couple of maps, I might not necessarily know exactly which alien is which just from those red triangles. And when you're trying to revise a level like that, that's just really annoying to have to click through those and build a mental image of what they are without seeing them. So
Yeah.
it was definitely handy.
And there were some other tweaks, like there's the like sexy scripting stuff like the spells, right? But now we're talking about like some of the more behind or under the cover uh, sort of things. And another one that people might not know about is the fact that at lower difficulties there are actually more health cans lying around, which required um, some Lua, and we also like added facing to items or something, right? To allow it to, so you could sort of flag an item invisibly with that it was supposed to be a health can.
Yeah, I think it's what is it? It's a spit key at a certain
It's
height
like
or above.
1 degree, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, above a certain height, it's a health can. Yeah, I forget it now. That all left my brain the day after we released
Yeah.
it. But yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that like I think even people who don't like the flashier things, or someone 20 years ago, um, just making Rubicon, right, or something like that, probably would have found super useful.
Yeah, yeah, especially when it comes to those activations.
So for this, I'm not sure if it's playing right now. Can't quite hear it, but for this level, every level has a playlist, like just 3 tracks that are shuffled, either when you load or once a special track is triggered, like battle music or something like that. And so every level has like, I think, yeah, every level has a unique combination of 3 tracks out of 12 or 15 or 18. I can't remember. There's a lot of variety, but this was the one that included like the most weird of all the tracks. And I was kind of worried about that, but I think it actually fits. Like at this point, like you're walking around large expanses, and I think you kind of feel the weirdness and fatigue sometimes. Um, I know like LT wasn't a huge fan of it when he was playing this very level, but in my opinion, it all worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Have we
one of
talked
the
about
things
the
about
drones
the
yet?
no, I was just gonna mention the
Yeah.
I found like vanilla drones to be really kind of boring. So if you noticed some of the combat here with the drones, they're a lot more interesting. Some would say annoying to fight, um, which is the goal. They're supposed to be like an actual challenge, or they're supposed to make you approach the situation differently. So it's a really good use of laser. It kind of gives the laser a chance to shine against them, because it can not only hit them, but it freezes them so they stop like dancing around or whatever. It's like it keeps them in place. Um,
Yeah, the first time. So like I kind of mentioned in the last video when you guys gave this to me, there wasn't like I knew there were spells and levels and stuff, right? But some of the finer points I was not aware of, and the first couple times I encountered drones, I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was glitching out somehow, actually, until I finally asked you, and I mean, it was super cool. I think that's a great addition. Juggernauts used to do it too, didn't they?
they still do. Basically, everything in the game that flies has that mechanic. And the only reason, well, I don't know if it's the only reason, but none of the ground, like monsters that walk on the ground, do that, and it's partly because it just looks goofy, right? There's no animation. Like when they're firing their weapon,
They're
their
like
legs aren't
moonwalking.
moving, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this
Yeah,
map is
flying.
this
Go
map
ahead.
is called Upstream. So obviously, the river that you see is it's supposed to be the same river in the first level that kind of makes its way past the ship. And this was kind of the first thing that I had done with this sort of level save state, idea that we're using here, where these levels are geographically really close together. In my mind, they're pretty much kind of side by side, and in most cases, those transition corridors are just kind of going right into the next level. So this is supposed to kind of just be right next to that first map, and obviously it's called Upstream because you're going upstream in the level, and yeah, I wanted this to kind of have um, I kind of built this to have two different sections. You're first starting out in that building that's enclosed and it's a little bit darker, and it's maybe a little more cramped, kind of similar to almost to the ship in the first level, but a lot bigger of a space. And then the map opens up, into this outdoor area that's kind of um, really, spread out. And I feel like a couple infinity levels probably were the biggest influences to this. A little bit of Poor Yorick and maybe Son of Grendel. Son of Grendel actually pretty heavily influenced a later map called Snake River. But but yeah, so this is also a water map, kind of like the first map, and that's again kind of trying to lend itself to the fact that it's supposed to be pretty close to that first level. So
So this is kind of a. I think I missed this the very first time I played, but there wasn't really. I don't know. Nothing really drew my attention over there, but now we've got that guy you can kind of see over there. There was monsters over there, so um, the only way to get here is to do that jump, which
Yeah,
I
the
think
guy used to
is
be behind the door, right?
yeah.
yeah, he used to be in that room that's right in front of you, but I brought him out to make him a little more obvious.
Okay, so he's got the red key, which, if you'll remember, there was a red door on the first map. And then yellow crystal, this thing lets you talk to dead bodies. We could actually use that right now. Talk to this guy. I'm probably not going to go through like all of the dialogue because that would take forever. But these guys all respond to both name and death. And then, it's kind of designed so that based on what they say from the name and the death, and maybe even their initial message, you can um, key off of what they're saying. So, like, he's talking about drones, so we could ask about drones. Do you guys have anything you wanted me to show that for this guy? I don't really
I'd like to learn
remember.
about Gary at some point.
Right, Gary.
Poor Gary. It's a
Yeah.
bummer.
Yeah, so I mean, you can spend a lot of time talking to these guys. We put a lot of dialogue in.
Yeah, there's like what, probably an average of at least 15. Well, maybe not 15, 8.
Oh, there's
Uh,
more. You're talking about like unique answers.
on average, yeah.
I think more than that. We added a lot. I think
Yeah,
every
we all
time
pitched in on that part.
yeah, I want to say between like 20 and 40. I guess I don't know. There's a lot of duplicates, right? If you kind of have similar words for one topic, you might get a couple different words that lead to the same answer. But yeah, I want to say that because this is based off of something in Pathways into Darkness, right? And I want to say that our dialogue window allows for more text than Pathways. I don't know if that's accurate or not. Um, is that something? Does that sound right? Work?
It probably does. I honestly can't remember what the pathways window looked like, but I do think some of our responses have more text than you would have gotten with pathways.
It was like a dialogue box, right? Like a System 7.
Yeah. So yeah, it allowed for some slightly more verbose answers from our dead people, maybe, um, which was kind of a blessing and a curse because it's nice to be able to provide more information in those answers, but then you kind of want to make sure that if there's a topic they mention that might be interesting to the player, that maybe they'll have something to say for that. So the more you write, the more you kind of have to come up with alternate topics to talk about, unless the person just doesn't have a lot they want to say, obviously. But I think it's generally funner when I'm able to ask them a bunch of different things and I get information for everything. It makes it a lot more immersive.
So we did that like that whole effort was almost one of the last things, right?
It was, yeah. Yeah, the whole story, both we did terminals first and then we did body dialogue. But the whole story, we had an outline for it and a kind of a general idea of what we wanted to do for most of the time, but we didn't really actually start taking a crack at it um, until, yeah, the maps were done and we were pretty heavily testing them.
Yeah, like I think we had made the trailer before pretty much. Like there were a couple test dialogues, right? But
Yeah.
like the trailer came first.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think you're right. Because I want to say that I spent, I don't know, maybe most of December writing the terminals and then maybe a little bit of January. And then, yeah, the next 1 or 2 months we were going through bodies. And I did all of the terminal text. I can't remember if we mentioned that yet. Um, and then we all kind of pitched in on body dialogue and did that. So I
And then
think that turned out really well. I like that we all did the body dialogue because there's like what 28 or 29 different characters that you
Yeah,
can
and
talk
it's good
to.
to give
So
them different voices. Like we can
yeah,
try to, you know, write different voices ourselves, but when different people are doing it, you get even more variety. So I think that's good.
it
yeah,
was also fun because it was like on a spreadsheet in Google Docs, and it was fun to like come in the next day and see, that a character had been filled in, and just like since then you can look at everything at once. It's kind of fun to see what the other guys had thought up.
yeah. And it also it felt like just a really weird writing exercise. Like, okay, I'm writing in a spreadsheet, you know, and yeah, just the whole thing felt like a weird writing prompt in a way.
All right, so I think I basically did everything right. So there's the red door that we're supposed to be going to. Um, but I guess I will go back to the first map now that we've got the red key and just see what we. Whoa! I
Oh,
was not expecting that guy. Um, yeah, and I mean, I've definitely left some spells on the ground here, so I think we were definitely generous with our giving people spells, which is
And
good,
obviously,
right? Because it makes
yeah,
the game more fun. Oh, and see, the landscape is now different. We got sunset going. So that's one thing about this game. Since you can go back and forth between levels, time is supposed to pass as you do that. So, yeah, you can. It might be daytime at the beginning, but then now it's sunset, and eventually it could become night or morning again.
and
And I,
it's like there's a time like that has to pass in game before that'll happen. Correct? For most, in most cases.
yeah, and there's some also just some extra logic around the first time you visit a map. So like we can never progress to nighttime. Like I could go back and forth between the first two maps a million times. It'll never progress to nighttime until I get to um, a later map, and that's just because I think Windbreaker wanted um, certain landscapes to be there the first time you see certain maps, just because it fits the mood better. Um, okay, so where am I going?
This secret, I guess you could. Is it officially a secret?
I don't think it's marked as one.
Okay, so
no,
that's
it's not
that's
marked as
kind of
secret.
confusing for me. Like, I thought of a lot of things as secret, like of varying difficulty to discover, and then like it turns out that what I thought were secrets were like not even close to the to how hard it was to get a lot of them. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I've heard the secrets are a little challenging.
Yeah, I don't know
this
if you saw that red face thing. That's kind of an inside joke. The frown on that thing. So sorry, that's not. It might look weird, but I think it's funny.
For the longest time, it was just a red circle, and then as we were getting later in the process, we just kind of decided we couldn't think of a better thing for it, so we just put it in the little invisibility sprite shape to make it look a little more official.
Yeah. Yeah, because we couldn't think of what else Fury would look like. And this guy, so this terminal here says there's 2 Furies. So he kind of gives you an indication that, hey, I only found 1, so I must be missing something. But there's nothing really else right in this spot, right? I didn't miss anything in this little
No.
area. But now that we've been here, I think it activates something else in the ship. And
Well, you flipped that switch, right?
I think
I'm
It
pretty
was
sure you did.
green.
so.
The green light was lit. So it's that there's like an elevator that's near the one that you see across the room here. Like
Right.
right. You're
Okay.
looking at it,
Yeah. So this was not active before.
And this too was like a pretty late addition, wasn't it?
Yeah, I added this at the end of last year. It was, I think this is, one of the very last like actually new parts of any of the maps that were built. I did revisions obviously up to release, but this was, I think, the last new thing, which is kind of funny that it's on the very first level that you start on.
Work loves these wing hatches.
Oh, and I'm getting the music for. There's like hardly anything left alive on the level.
Yeah, it's like a threshold of it has to be. I think technically it's like what's active, but there's also some count accounting for the number of guys who are no longer with us, and then it's like a percentage of the overhead map is filled in. I called it the Rome music, but Work kind of likes to think of it, I think, as like the Finding Secrets music.
Yeah, because when I'm done with the map and I'm ready to like run around looking for secrets, this song always came on. So that's kind of what I associate it with now. Let's see. I don't know. Did you guys want me to run back to that other body just to talk? Probably not. It's
Yeah,
Nah.
I don't think so.
all right.
Though it might be worth kind of talking about. So this sunset landscape, I think it's my personal favorite, and I think it's a lot of people's favorites. It really turned out super well. These were all done by work in a program called Terrigen, which I think I mentioned in the first video. But I don't know if you wanted to talk. I remember that the process of doing this and then getting the landscape kind of like stitched together in a 360 view was kind of difficult. I don't know if that
Yeah,
would be kind of interesting
sure.
to talk about briefly.
Yeah, it was kind of a pain because um, Terrigen is really good at rendering these things, but it doesn't do it in a format that you would necessarily want um, for a marathon texture, right? So you can render it at different angles and then use like a kind of a what do you call it, mosaic tool. I think I just found some open source mosaicing tool um, that stitches images together. But yeah, it didn't. It needed tons of overlap, like way more than what I would have thought. Um, so I had to render this thing 16 times, I think, at like 45-degree angles from each other just to get the stitching to work. And I think that whole process took like 11 hours for this one. Just I clicked the button and went to sleep, and like it was still going when I woke up. It was kind of nuts. Um, okay, so I think we're
I'm
now.
surprised it turned out.
Yeah,
Though I remember the process just kept getting more and more convoluted, and then somehow these awesome textures came out of it. So
right.
yeah, glad that worked. Were you gonna show secrets now?
Yeah, I think we're to the point where we're showing secrets. So,
Yeah.
um,
Your
So
so
there's
eyes,
two on
if you
this
don't
one,
want to
right?
know.
Yeah, I think there's two secrets. One of it's here, right? I don't know. I always have
Yeah.
trouble finding this
This
one.
is like the oldest secret there is.
Yeah, I think it is actually. It's right. It's that. It's what
So
Okay,
I
so
never understood the mechanic here. Do you have? Okay, you just stand on it.
well, I did tab something, right?
I
I
think you
think
have to
Yeah.
like double tab it.
so you
I
can
can't.
walk
Weird.
through this one, and then I think you have to tab this, and then there's an activation delay. So it's like
Uh,
it's super hard to find because it's like,
It's mean. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I might have given up and turned around and left by now, and just thought this was like a glitchy texture or something. So
Yeah.
like you have to actually sit here and wait for it.
okay, that makes
That's
sense. There's a
something I'll probably fix, or not. I'll do differently if we do an update. I think there's a couple examples where I put like a silent door on a delay. It's just super douchey.
yeah, there's that one in Snake River. That's the other one where I thought you had to like arbitrarily activate it several times or something.
Okay, so this other one, I guess there's multiple ways of doing it. I'm gonna see if I can. It's
This
it's
so
really hard to get, I think.
yeah, so when I'm not sure if I said this, but I in the final passes through the game, I like tried to find what secrets I could, but I didn't really spend like I didn't look at the map in Wayland, and I didn't really spend that much time looking. If it wasn't super obvious, I didn't. I was trying to survive without using any cans, so that was my main concern. But in the early stages, I would like try all kinds of weird stuff, and so this didn't used to be a secret until I was like, "Hey, why isn't there anything over here?" And you guys were like, "How the hell did you even get there?"
Right. So we're talking about up on this above this waterfall. I'm actually just gonna cheat save because I don't want to waste your guys' time with me running back here. Because I'm probably not gonna be able to do this the first time. Um, so yeah, somehow we need to get up on top of that, and I think I have done this before, but oh yeah, I should probably heal first. That would be smart.
Yeah, this secret's kind of an exception to the rule. I don't think there's any other secrets in the scenario where you have to grenade jump like this.
No.
But I specifically put this one in because of Iron's request. So
Appreciate it. Because
yeah,
what I would do is then I would check it every single time I played almost. And I don't think it showed up until I don't know, the last like 2 months we were
Yeah.
working on it.
Yeah, I forget. I know I did this and I had a strategy down, but it's been so long now, I don't remember. Like, there was some, I had to run at a very specific angle, I think. And
I
yeah,
might
so
have
let me try your method, Irons. What you said
Yeah.
you could do this consistently.
Yeah, so go onto the pillar that is to your left.
This guy? Or
Yeah,
okay.
the one, yeah. And then aim, like look at the overhead map and just orient the back of your guy to the, like pretty much, yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay.
And then like get back up a little, basically so that what you're going to do is run forward, start shooting both triggers, and let the recoil carry you backwards. So
Okay.
just, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay. So there we go. So yeah, this guy. He's got wait, this isn't right. Does he have anything?
You should.
Press. Okay, there we go. I must have just gotten pushed off of him or something. Okay, so yeah, he had some good stuff. Talking about cigarettes.
Don't smoke, kids.
Yeah, we just kind of had fun with this guy because we figured most people would never see him. Um, drowned in
What's
3 inches of water.
Is this Gary?
This
Uh,
is this is Ernie.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all had our like handful of favorite uh, people.
I
there
don't think
anything?
Ernie has many lines. I think he's
Yeah.
got like 10 lines total.
He's out of breath from smoking too much
Yeah.
and being dead.
He's not proud of it, you know. He's not proud of his addiction.
Yeah. So
Even in death, it chases him, you know. It's messed up. No, but Gary was mentioned by that first body we talked to, Walt. But there is actually you never find Gary. Whatever happened to him was probably
Best
probably
left unlearned.
yeah, yeah. He'll never be found.
But there are a lot of cross references too. Like one of my favorites we'll get to, but there's like a lot of stuff where if you remember who you've talked to in the past, you can mention them to other bodies, and they might know who you're talking about.
Yeah, that's something I loved about Pathways. It was how you had to remember, you know, different names or different topics. Um, yeah, that was super fun. You almost had to take notes on it, and that's just such a weird thing for a game. But I love that about Pathways.
I just hit the Fury, which makes everything take more damage. Like my weapons do double damage, and everything explodes when you kill it, which is kind of fun to watch, I think.
This is definitely a magical place, though, because apparently all these humans in 4 have multiple heads when you use Fury on them.
Yeah,
That's just the
that's
nature
my
of
favorite part.
Istoria.
Exactly. Um. Okay.
But this
That
is
second
lockdown
photo, yeah, this is the third map. I wanted to mention that second photo on the terminal was
with the
some,
troopers.
yeah, that's totally just a cheat. I just took a screenshot and then took the trooper sprites and
Thought
just
so.
put them in. So I
It
didn't want
reminds me of that Rubicon level where you're underwater. They have like a bunch of images like that.
yeah. So yeah, as you can see, there's Marathon 2 textures in this level.
The last one had some too, right?
Yeah, yeah. The last one definitely had some as well. This is more of a M2 heavy level, and I figured, you know, if we're gonna use vanilla textures with some modified textures, we might as well bring some Marathon 2 textures in as well, because I really like Marathon 2 textures. I think they're maybe a bit more unique or a bit more eye-catching than even Infinity textures. But the thing that I found when designing levels is if I have a larger surface, a bigger wall or whatever, Marathon 2 textures are just a little more, they're a little busier. And so I've kind of found that I don't really like how they look if you're trying to have a large architectural flourish or a big column or whatever, big wall. So that was kind of why I decided not to go solely with Marathon 2 textures and to kind of do a mix, which you can see here. And then yeah, this floor texture is just something I recolored.
The bricks are new, right? Or cinder blocks or whatever those are.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually thanks for reminding me. Like there's you can see some asphalt down here. So that was actually done by work. I think he just did that in GIMP, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So there's like some new textures that he made. And there's, I mean, I didn't necessarily just completely rely on recoloring. There are some textures here where I did some manual touch ups, or like I think this white texture kind of behind work, I added some rust to that. Yeah, that
This
one.
thing.
Yeah, you can see some really subtle like rust. It's only in one area because you know it was a lot of effort.
Because
Um,
Istoria's the base is like a million years old, so there's a couple cracks.
exactly. There's a little bit of rust, but you know.
So this is the first level with defenders, right? And they are never your friends.
Yeah, I think their projectiles are a little bit faster. Actually, quite a bit faster.
Oh man, I hate them so much. At least there's no guided ones yet. And when they showed up, I was like, oh, I give up.
Yeah, that just
Because they're
leads.
so slow. Like, it's hard to dodge them.
Yeah. True.
Yeah,
And
they're
they're
really
also
rude.
narrow. You don't even know. It's Man, I got some words about them, but
Can't open that yet. So it looks like we're going into some sewage. It wouldn't be marathon if you're not swimming through sewage.
Yep.
and this is all human sewage too, because everything else is dead on Astoria. So
Yeah, this is. Yeah, you're right. I never
this
thought of
is
that.
all the sewage from those people you're talking to.
This is Walt and Ernie, and yeah.
Did so Ares did one of the earliest playthroughs I think that I know of, and I think this was his favorite room.
This right here?
Yeah, like he seemed to really love this room.
Huh.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I like it too. I really enjoy the drones coming up like that. It's kind of a cool activation. It's got kind of weirdly angled architecture. It's not really a normal space.
Yeah, it makes me think of like a Ryoko net map.
Oh yeah.
So we got a choice of where to go here, sort of.
Do you want to go and poop, or do you want to go up these stairs? It's your choice.
Go this way first, because I know it's a dead end. Don't have that key yet, but there is a guy here. This is the first Fury you would see if you hadn't found the secrets. So we could.
This Bert.
Yeah, so I mean, these guys kind of have to carry around these things, and they don't know why. But,
Yeah, like some of the spells are mentioned in terminals by Sullivan, and he kind of explains them. And then sometimes, for a couple, I think the only information you get is really from bodies if you don't want to just try them yourself.
Yeah, and that body was primarily written by Rakencactor. I think that was like one of the first ones you had kind of taken a stab at. If I'm
yeah,
correct.
I think so.
The last three that we've seen, I primarily did the dialogue for.
And I think I did like some later ones, right? Like what we did was we're like, well, we don't want to overwrite each other's stuff, so we just split up divided all the levels.
Yeah. I think you did a couple of the secret ones too.
Yeah, but then like you, Windbreaker, I guess because you had the story most in mind. Like there were a few where you're like, this one's mine.
Yeah. There's a couple that I wanted to lay claim to. Well, and there's one that I think Rack wanted to write. I think it was Emily later on.
Right. Oh, and I just picked up a key that was here without really even noticing it.
Yeah.
Which this
We
thing.
didn't used to have. There was one physical key that you saw.
Yeah.
Much later, and this one was added as a visual key near the end.
Yeah.
So this
'Cause
guy's
it was on a body.
right. Yeah, that's true. And they're both purple, so it worked out. So the shape file doesn't have to have multiple items representing them. So yeah, this terminal is telling you need to find a gold key card. We just found a purple one.
Or I guess technically violet.
Violet, yeah, that's right, violet. So it's kind of hinting that you might have to explore further to get the gold key, because we've seen a few of those gold doors around here. And I think this has tripped up a couple people, at least briefly, where they're not really sure what to do here because they've got the purple key, but that doesn't help them with the gold doors. I think it's more clear if you're actually reading, because
Whoa, now.
yeah,
Not everybody can do that, even though this
That's.
is marathon.
But if we recall, there was this purple door up here. So this is kind of the first, maybe a little more interesting use of the level transitions, where you have to go to this other level and find a gold key there before you can come back and finish this level. So I don't know. Do you guys want to keep going, or I don't know how much we should do for
Let's
this
do it.
video.
This is a short one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know if you want to mention. So right at that transition at the start, that's one of a few little
Oh,
mess ups we did.
the
Yeah,
mistake. Yeah.
yeah. So I made the transition one world unit long when it should be. I think, well, anything shorter than that, but I would usually do 0.75. And so you can see the transition texture gap kind of right there. And we realized that before release, but after we had kind of merged the last version that we were really going to test, so we just kind of had to take that one.
Yeah, everyone was done.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't heard anyone complaining or pointing that out, so must not be too important.
Yeah, there's one controversial last minute addition that we'll get to in a couple levels. But other than that, I think we were pretty wise about what we messed with at the very end. Well, except the overhead, right? So that whole addition was cool, and it seemed to work pretty well. But we discovered some serious frame rate issues when it was active, right? And like maybe
Yeah.
even after it was active, like when you turn it off.
I don't think when I turned it off, but it was like if you left it pulled up and then you went back to you exit out of your auto map, then it would kind of start to get choppy.
Oh yeah.
So these two maps, this map and the last map, are, like I said, pretty heavy on Marathon 2 textures, and it's probably no surprise that when I made these two levels, I was playing through Marathon 2. And I really wanted to play through it because I hadn't played through Marathon 2 in a long time. It had been probably 10 or 11 years. So, while I was making these levels, I figured I should really kind of get a frame of reference for a different marathon game, just to kind of just seems like a good idea. And so I chose that one because Marathon 2, in my opinion, is just the funnest marathon game. It's got the best levels, it's got an easy to understand but compelling story, and so I kind of used Marathon 2 as like the standard to sort of try to measure against. And one thing that struck me when I was playing Marathon 2, I'd only played it maybe two, maybe three times in my life, and it was all when I was a kid. Um, but every level that I was going through, I just felt like I was remembering every room really well. I would come across a section in a map, and I'd think, "Oh yeah, I remember this area. This is really cool." And it just kind of struck me how, with such a limited engine, they were able to um, create these maps that were just so unique against each other.
Yeah.
Um, and so that kind of really stuck with me as I was playing through Marathon 2. And I tried to kind of think about that when I was designing these levels in Astoria. Um, because one, I was really worried that I knew at this point I was going to make all the maps, and I was really worried that my maps would start to become repetitive. Because I think there's kind of only so many ways that you can draw rooms in this engine, or you can draw architecture. And so one of my big fears was that things would just get, you know, kind of everything would start to look the same and not be super memorable, or you'd get confused if you were on one section of a map or another because it's all kind of blends together. So I tried to really be mindful of making each section of these maps unique, and even a little bit maybe simpler than I would have made years ago. I've made a lot of maps that use just a ton of architectural flourishes or a ton of architectural features. They're really busy, and there's definitely maps like that in Astoria, but a lot of them I tried to consciously make them simpler than I might usually. And Lockdown and this map, which is called Trimmed and Burning, are both examples of that. I think this map is under 1,000 polygons, and I'm pretty sure Lockdown is under the 1024 limits of that Forge had back in the day for polygons. So, which I don't know, might be surprising to some people if they're familiar with my previous maps. So that was just kind of, I guess, maybe my thought process when making these. Because also before Historia, I had really only made two other solo maps, other than when I was like a little kid and I was trying to mess around, and those were crap. Um, but I had made a map for this scenario that we did called Marathon Huge, and then I made one that ended up getting scrapped for Where Monsters Are in Dreams, and that level sucked. It was way too busy, super easy to get lost. It was boring, So yeah, it was just kind of a conscious decision to try to make super unique sections and also make it a little simpler, than I usually would.
Are we seeing some backtracking here?
Yeah, I ran
Oh
out of
man,
spells, and I
you guys
really,
should do something about that.
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like a lightning. I don't want to go all the way back to upstream, but I know that I left some lightnings there, but without laser, that this next section is kind of
Oh yeah,
annoying, so I just wanted to go get some laser. Don't mind
with
me.
the defenders.
Yeah.
So this level was one, I believe. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. Where you had a very specific landscape texture in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely the first time you come to this, it will always be sunset no matter what.
Yep. Yeah, this map and then the next new map that we'll see, which is called Central Command, which is at nighttime. Those two maps I very intentionally, or I really wanted them to be seen with a certain landscape. And this should be pretty obvious right here why I wanted this, because this sunset is just really, really great with this cliff. Um, Such a really cool looking spot. You get to see the full length of the landscape.
Especially if you fall down and die.
Yeah.
So that landscape is also what I was thinking of as I made the track called "Turning Back," which I think I don't know if this is the first level that has it. It might not be, but it's definitely like its reason for existing. Is this setting?
Yeah, and
Because
I
what I
even
kind
those.
of
Oh, go ahead.
what I kind of like, or like a lot, is about this scenario is that yeah, like there's a lot going on. You can have some pretty big battles. You can blow a lot of stuff up, but there's also plenty of more contemplative or just like quiet um, parts. Like even before this level is what I would consider complete. Uh, there are quiet areas, and that's like Marathon 2, I think.
These guys keep breaking up when I'm about to use a lightning on them.
There you go. Yeah, so here's a cliff right here, which is maybe is more of a new thing in marathon mods. Actually, I don't know if it's new or not, but um, you'll notice that the skybox goes down all the way to the floor, which is a little weird because then you can like see under this building and it almost looks like stuff's floating, which is I think how you view it I just kind of suspend my disbelief a little bit. Um, Because if I put a floor texture down there, you're gonna think that you can walk down there as a player, right?
Right.
Um, and then it'll be annoying when you just suddenly croak. Um,
Yeah, I should show
so
that.
yeah,
It was a very prominent part of the trailer. This
that's
very
right.
Oh,
level.
that's true. People probably have already seen it, but it's just too fun. Like, oh, I wanted to jump over here and I missed. Oh, that sucks.
So monsters can die this way too, right?
Yeah, so if you're playing telekinetic, this is a great place to shove monsters off the cliff. Like if you're coming from this direction, that whole group of monsters was here. I don't know if you could push them that far, but some of the monsters, like this hunter over here that I was fighting, I could have pushed him off the ledge. So that's kind of a fun thing that telekinetic gets to do. So I don't know, I could go along this ledge here, or I've got a few options here. I'm just gonna go up the stairs. Actually, this map, I don't know if we talked about it, but the map started off with a choice. Um, where you could go right or left, and I guess yeah, just I think a bunch of maps have that kind of thing going on. So part of the replayability is classes and the character progression, but also just there's different ways of going through the maps that I think works really well when you want to replay stuff.
I think it also just makes the maps seem a little bit bigger in a way because you can loop around and you feel like you have more of a decision to make than if it's just a straightforward thing, which is nice because marathon maps are generally really small, right? So you kind of got to get creative if you want to make them seem a little bit bigger, more immersive.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was kind of talking about Marathon 2 and then the inspiration. You can definitely see, I think, here that there's some inspiration from Beware of Abandoned Rental Trucks. I really love that map, just again because it just has its own look and its own kind of unique architectural features that stand out in Marathon 2. And I really like this kind of like one world unit tall corridor, but with the sky right above it. um I don't know, that just feels kind of a little more retro or something. um
Yeah.
so I took inspiration from um definitely from Marathon 2 maps. And part of that was because we haven't talked much about the story, but um because we were using Marathon 2 and Infinity textures, which were Sfit and Yarrow textures, um we kind of had to explain why you're seeing those textures on a different planet, which I think is kind of similar to like Infinity's setback, if I'm correct. I could be wrong about this, but they, you know, thought they were going to use Marathon 2 textures, and so they just set it on Lahawan, and that's why they had to kind of mess with the timeline stuff, right? So for us, we had to kind of explain it as this species that used to inhabit this planet, called the Merak, um, is kind of related to this fit, right? And that's something that's implied in, I think, a Marathon 2 terminal. The Sfit are kind of pondering if they're just one of many sort of offshoots that came to Lahawan, and others, served other Yarrows in different parts of the galaxy. So this kind of takes that idea and explores it, and is a good way to make use of these textures, kind of, um, and to kind of explain why they're here. So with that in mind, I kind of thought, well, if they're fit like I want to make these maps look kind of like Marathon 2 maps where you're exploring Lahawan, um, so that it's not just a total excuse of, this is why you see these textures, but, the maps kind of reflect that this is, something similar to what the player's seen before, if that makes sense.
Yeah. On the subject of terminals in Marathon 2 and Infinity, so this working on Istoria actually inspired several side projects. One of them is the thing that we worked on that eventually turned into the Locknitz scenarios. Well, at least the terminals was something that I worked on, and that was primarily so that work in Windbreaker would have an easier time sifting through the terminals to work on the story here.
Yeah, that was really handy to have, to be able to feed it into that, and then kind of see how the terminals would be formatted and stuff without having to merge them.
Right, yeah, it was like a pre-renderer as well. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And so we used like a placeholder image for almost all the terminal images until we actually started working on
Yeah.
them. And so we used it that I made an index like where you could look at where every image was used, every terminal, and we used that to figure out what was missing.
Yeah, it was. Some people will know it. It's a drawing called Paunch Guy. That was what our placeholder was, which I thought about keeping in like a secret terminal, but I decided against it.
I kind of think it should have been still in that underwater one near that first secret on Upstream.
Yeah.
I just feel like making someone read a terminal underwater fits the message of the one that was there.
Probably true.
I like these pits.
Yep, I always feel compelled to go in them, even though it's like a couple shotgun shells or something.
I think I jump in them a lot of the time, even if I guess the shells I'll always pick up, but even if I don't need any of the other stuff.
Yeah, there's tons of laser in this room, so I always end up not using it all. But
This
actually,
whole hallway.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and I was just gonna say this whole hallway is probably one of my favorite areas in terms of monster activations, especially like the room work just came from. If you look in there, you'll see a compiler reading a terminal, but at the same time, then a bunch of troopers and some cyborgs come out of this door that work is going through now and fire them at you.
Right.
And a lot of times you can kind of hear the grenade coming as you're looking at the compiler, and I just that's like that's one thing I'm pretty proud of.
Here's my favorite, probably my favorite pair of bodies.
Right.
They're mad at each other.
Yeah, this guy kind of looks like he's covering his head. He kind of looks like he's maybe a little scared.
Yeah, he's kind of messed up looking.
His arm came off.
I think this is
Yeah.
we made most of the AIs with or AIs, what am I saying? The dead bodies with AI imagery. Mostly using the pathways into darkness bodies as a base and then like telling it to shift. So this is based on one of those pathways bodies that didn't make a ton of sense, and I think the AI made it even more weird. But, you know, it works. He looks like he's cowering or something.
Really. But yeah, this was like when we were testing all the dialogue that we were adding near the end. I was a little worried how I never played the Pathways into Darkness conversion actually, so I didn't work with entering dialogue there. So I was kind of worried just about how cumbersome it might be and how like if stuff would really link together the way that we were hoping. But like this proved to me like it was awesome. This was such a great discovery to tell those guys about each other.
Right.
So this is also a good showcase of the overhead map filter, right? This was one of the places you guys actually asked for it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
probably true. I never even look at the map, so some of it's based on what I suspect other people might want rather than my
so
own.
like Central Command and Escape from the Sky, the first level. Those are like very easy, and obviously we didn't have map filtering. But I think even though like Central Command, especially, is so complex on the overhead, it's very easy to know, like to learn the layout and to know where you are. But here's a good example of like where the overhead filter is actually pretty useful for just like sorting out things visually.
Yeah, you've got, a couple different smaller rooms you can poke around, and they kind of, have little different spaces inside of them. So it seemed it seemed beneficial for people to be able to look at the overhead map to see if they've missed anything or if there's, anything they want to try to explore again. Um,
So yeah, let's see, where's that at? Oh, I've got the map filter active already. So yeah, definitely cleaner, nicer to look at.
This was like the hardest one to add it to. So all the filtering is hard coded. I mean, it's not like polygon by polygon, but you have to define bounding boxes and like those rooms down here that are sort of in the northeast area. Oh man, it's because the floor, like, this is all the same. Like the floor level goes outside, which you should share with the second floor. Like they should also see each other, right? But it was just super complicated. And there's some overlaps that I had to like draw one world unit size boxes around.
yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually started like I made it so you could label them instead of using indexes, and I started leaving passive aggressive anti windbreaker names. Hey,
Look at this.
Those are some
Got
nice glasses right there.
nice octagonal glasses.
that's uh that's a very nice
Fun, Robert.
marathon polygon vertex and side limit reference.
Wonder who
Right,
Ed Grindle could be.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I have no idea.
Seems
good
like a nice
picture.
guy though.
I also like the background. That was an AI generated one, right?
Yeah, the noise.
Yeah.
The kind of like noise on the back. Yeah, yeah. That was an AI. I think
Yeah.
those were 3 AI generated images that I spliced together.
But the
I
one I'm
can't
talking about
remember.
is on his. Yeah,
Right, the
that's
one behind him. Yeah.
I really like that texture, if you could call it that.
I also like that it's ISAD,
Yeah.
Istoria's Scientific Advancement Division. Yeah. There's a lot to be sad about right now in this game if you're paying attention to the story.
And you'll notice this terminal has now changed, which isn't that interesting. But if I leave the map and come back, it'll still have this message saying you already completed it, which required a little bit of extra work to do. But we're ready to go. Actually, that whole underground section, I didn't need to do, or not underground, but like that last section I ran through. All you really have to do is grab the gold key and get back out. So you could skip like probably more than half of this level if you wanted to.
You'll
Yeah.
miss my favorite secret.
Right, and you'll just miss experience as well. You always want to kill everything you can to get your life up as high as possible for the end of the game. But yeah, I think we're ready to do the secrets on this one. Which, let's see if I can actually remember them. Yeah, I know
I
of
think I only
one.
know about the one.
You only know of the one irons? Is that what you said?
I think so.
Gotcha. Yeah, looks like you remember this one.
Yeah, so here,
Oh.
if you look at the map,
Oh, I've gotten that one. Yeah.
there's something there on the map across the way, it looks like. So that's kind of your tip off that you can jump through here. So I remembered that one. Then there's this really fun one that I don't
The reason
know.
I like this one is it's obscure, and I found it on my own. I'm way more proud of it than I should be.
I found it on my own, but it was because I was implementing this death mechanic, and I was walking around on the ground down there, and it was easier to see from there. So
I thought it was a
I didn't
glitch.
really get a chance to find it the right way, I guess.
I thought it was a glitch, so
But you can kind of see it. I can't.
If you go down the elevator,
Oh,
I think you can see it a little better.
oh, that's true. Okay, let's do that.
That's where I always launch from.
Ah, there we
Barely.
go.
Yeah.
So yeah, right at the bottom of the screen there by my gun, you can see there's like a rectangle that's a little different shade from the rest of it. So
I
that's
thought that was a rendering problem. Like I thought there were overlapping spaces or something. So
yeah,
I
and
felt
even when
very rewarded when I jumped down there.
yeah. So hopefully I don't remember if I saved or not. Okay, there we go. So yeah, that's a fun one. Chain burst. So
Yeah,
yeah,
especially because of this. This is very rewarding.
yeah, this is a really fun spell. This is one of the spells I wanted to make the most before this even turned into a real game. I just wanted to make this. It's based on the Dispersal Dream from Myth, which I always thought was the coolest thing in like a spell in any game ever. So I threw that. This was probably one of the first spells I put into the game, just because I wanted to do it. Ice Orb. This is heavily inspired by the Frozen Orb in Diablo 2. Although in this game it's more of a crowd control thing than a damage dealer. It just slows everything down and gives you a lot more time to fight.
You can kill a lot of I always save them up and use them in very specific encounters and just use all of them, you know.
Yeah, that does work too. I
And they're also very good anti-defender because they're so weak. Like they have so little health that it also helps to slow their projectiles, but they especially die if you shoot like 4 or 5 into a room of them.
Yeah, I really like spamming them because the shards of ice go everywhere.
So is
Pretty
there
fun.
anything else? So there's the map filtering on the other side of things when I'm up here. Was there
Yeah, that
another secret that I'm not remembering?
I think that should be it. I can't remember if I added a last minute one in that there's that kind of ledge corridor on the when you're at that starting room when you have the fork in the road, you go in the other way, and it's where those troopers and those spider fighters kind of spawn from. Yes, like you turn left here. That corridor.
You added something there? I
I
used to
can't
go there
remember.
every time.
I
I don't,
can't remember if I did or not.
I don't think
Actually,
Oh,
so.
I
I don't
hope
think
not.
there is.
I
Yeah.
hope not, man. I'd be mad.
Yeah, because I don't remember ever.
No, I think I had
This would
thought
be
about
a
it, but I
reasonable
forgot.
place to do it, but
It would, yeah. I think I had wanted to, and then I honestly think I forgot to.
all right,
There's
fair
like a
enough.
million things, involved in making a scenario. A million things you gotta keep track of.
For sure. Let's see. Keep going, or how you guys feeling?
Do it.
Yeah, I figure at least this gets
Finish
the
up
lockdown.
lockdown.
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right, so yeah, we got our gold key. Now we're back to lockdown, which will open up. Oh, and it's nighttime now. So
Yeah.
that trimmed and burning, that one's guaranteed to be sunset. So now that we've gotten past that, you know, like it would never progress past sunset until you did that level. So now it's free to go to nighttime, which I really like this landscape as well.
Yeah, sunset and nighttime are my favorite. So these this road right here, I guess if you call it that, there's no vehicles obviously in Astoria that we know of. But I kind of wanted to, since these maps are all connected, I kind of wanted to sort of suggest in the levels that there was even more kind of interconnected areas that one place flowed to the next, and so this is kind of the first of many different streets that you kind of see that are supposed to all go around this outpost, and so like there's these big doors you'll see that are kind of covered by rail grating, I guess, like that one on the left. And I did that because I really didn't want the player to try to open a door that they couldn't open. Um, you know, And so, like this one, obviously you can open, but these you can't. But I still wanted to make the world seem maybe a little bit bigger. Um, and in game, the excuse for why they're closed is just that some idiot was panicking when the four started attacking, and they just closed them. But of course, the four are just teleporting in wherever. But that also serves to kind of make things more challenging for the player too, because part of getting to the next map is because all of those doors are closed. You had to get to that gold key to get to this room that work is trying to get to raise the sewage. So yeah, it just kind of that all kind of connected together with that decision. And just because I don't want I didn't want every mission to just be like open a door. There's only so many things you can do in marathon to begin with, but I wanted it, this to be like, okay, you gotta find a way to get to that ledge, and that involves flooding something, so that's a little bit different than just getting a switch and opening a door, even though it's not really, but yeah.
There used to be a cyborg up here. I was just expecting a
Oh,
cyborg.
I thought you were looking for him too. Okay,
I
I'm
think he
still
might
not used.
I
I
think he
think
might
that
spawn if you get a little later, but I could be wrong. Like if you
if you open the door, I think a large cyborg and a maybe a
yeah.
moa will
Yep.
spawn.
Oh yeah, I guess I did remove him. Okay.
But yeah, that I was waiting for them to work. I'm like
Yeah,
trained.
they were there for the longest time, but I might as well get these guys out of the way. Hopefully I don't die. Oh yeah, this hunter is not firing at me, he's just running at me. Scary.
He's beeping at you, right?
Yeah.
But that was a last minute change. That was the one I was talking about where kind of felt like the mother of all hunters were a bit dull.
Yeah, and that kind of came from a suggestion from Hypersleep, who tested this near the end of shortly before release. Um, and I think he kind of first made the comment of wanting something to be different about the mother of all hunters. And so we kind of thought about it and came to that decision. I like it, but there's some areas where we previously had added mother of all hunters that um, may be worth looking at later on because
Couldn't fit.
yeah, they're too tall to like fit into some corridors, and then if they can't fire at you, they just can't get to you to blow up, so they're just kind of like fish in a barrel, you know.
Yeah, that I think when we made that change, it was a good change, but we weren't
Enough
ready
time to
to
test
like
it.
revisit all of their spawns. So this, I don't know, somehow people miss this sometimes, so this is where the switch is. I think we've cleared it up with the terminal pictures and all that.
Yeah, we
Yeah, and
spent an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out the best way to present that information.
yeah, and I retextured. It used to be a different door texture, and I think it's a little more noticeable now.
I think it was a lot plainer, yeah. Like it could almost just be architecture.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it was Legacy Typhoon who we realized like we were watching him play, and even I mean he was reading the terminal that had that information, but it was just like not very well presented. So that was like a very important bit of feedback from him actually.
Yeah, well, he was reading the first page only, and the
Well,
information he
even when we
needed.
like convinced him to read the rest of it, it still wasn't clear enough.
Yeah, that's true.
Like there were no pictures. I don't
Yeah, I
think
think
anywhere.
the pictures really made the difference there. So I'm
So
getting kind
something.
of a comical amount of ammo at this point, and I think that's partly just due to the way I play. I seem to always have more ammo than other people, but also I've been getting all the secrets, which most people won't do. Um, so yeah, it's just if you get all the secrets in the game, you just get so much ammo. It's just kind of funny.
And work is using. For me, it wasn't actually a very obvious strategy until maybe you guys even told me. But I'm sure hopefully I would have figured it out eventually. But if anyone's struggling, uh, using the ammo selector, like I advise just doing that as soon as you find one. You'll never, like you don't need to carry them around. You just carry ammo around. You know what you need usually at any given time. So that's my
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, I always use them immediately because I fear that when I'm trying to like scroll through spells, I'm gonna accidentally land on ammo selector, and then I'm gonna try to use it, and then I'm gonna be stuck selecting ammo in the middle of a sticky situation. So I just get them out of the way right away.
I've
There's
kind of
a
just
couple of
got.
hints there.
Yeah, I don't. That's not really how I do it anymore. I just wait till I get 5 and then I'll use them because
Uh,
I don't have trouble switching spells, but that's because I've played this game for like a billion hours by now.
so it used to be possible to skip getting the key, right? You could,
Yeah.
and that's actually the first time I played this level. I didn't know what I was doing. I couldn't figure out where I was supposed to go, and I just did a grenade. I guess people call it a hover or something, but I used recoil to jump over the sewage and made it to the other side and got out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that terminal right next to that door, if you do that now, it kind of you'll get a message from Sullivan that's like, "Oh, good job. You didn't have to flood the sewage, but you do need a gold key, so you gotta go find that." So that's a way to force you to play Central Command. I don't know if you're noticing the same thing here, work. I noticed this a while ago that I didn't update the transition polygon. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think I.
So the hill, so that's what that orange polygon is what used to be the exit, but I added a little door because someone said that it didn't really match with the next level's entrance. But as you can see, I
Oh.
forgot to move the hill
Yeah. This is the first
because
time
they're
I'm
marked as
noticing
a
that.
hill. Yeah, yeah. I
All right.
noticed
You
it like a
better do
month
a
ago.
new fix right away.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
that's unplayable.
we need to get a hot fix
Broken.
going.
So yeah, I guess we're done with this. So it's secret time again, I believe.
I don't even know if I've ever found any secrets in here.
There's
There's
3.
3.
Wow. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's one really easy one. I can do that one first.
there's one really close to here. I don't
Is
know
it
if
the one that's like way down in that circular room?
yeah.
But see, that wasn't there until like the very end, was it?
No.
Yeah. So
That
like,
was another place where I used to go every single time until I just gave up.
yeah, exactly. It's like such an obvious place to explore. I guess now that the level's flooded, it's a little bit less clear where I am, but this is where we came in and the drones started attacking. If if you just go into the liquid and look around, you'll get this one. It's kind of like a free. Oh, wait, this isn't even a secret. Wait.
Oh,
No, you
Oh,
go
there we
there.
go.
You
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't even notice that I went
Me
through this
neither.
wall the first time. Okay, so it's a little less obvious than I thought, but I think people tend to go through that wall without even noticing it. But
Yeah,
that's okay.
that's one of the secrets that I know Eddie found, and he's like he doesn't usually play marathon other than
played.
multiplayer. He's gotten up to level 5, last I heard, but I think he ended up playing something else. So
Oh man.
yeah, he'll probably eventually pick it up, maybe.
Let's see. I vaguely recall something right around here. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, like up there, that thing. I think.
that's a teleporter. Yep,
Which.
and you can hear the sparking transformer sound, so it's kind of a bit of a tell.
Yeah, and I'm too lazy to go try that again. Oh, maybe I'll have to. Oh, there we go. Got it.
Hey, it worked.
Yep, there you go.
Let's see. Where was the best way to get there? I guess this way. Yeah, I don't. Is the attempt I made the right way to do it? Like you go up here and then you just have to like spin around
Yeah.
really quick. Okay.
Yeah.
Have to get better at it.
Yep.
There we go.
Oh, nice. Is that the? No, I guess. Is it the earliest possible SMG?
Yeah, it is.
Might be. Yeah.
I mean, if you're not rifleman, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get one on Central Command later. So yeah, if you get that secret, you can get the SMG even before you explore Trimmed and Burning. Because you can go into that whole area of lockdown and clear that out before you go to trimmed and burning. It's just kind of, it's up to how you want to do it.
Can you?
Wait, this.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is
How do
this
you
the
get
right
up there?
way?
I thought all the doors were sealed. Oh, I guess if you like hurt yourself to get up there, you can do it.
Yeah, if you hurt yourself. But yeah, I guess you're right. You need to get through those gold doors. Unless you grenade jump. Yeah. I think you can grenade jump from below.
Yeah. So I think you said there's 3. Is that? Did I get everything?
Yep. Yeah, that's everything on this level.
All right. Okay, so now it's running back somehow. Let's see, this way.
This map was originally called Lockout because of those doors that are closed, those big doors I was talking about. But then I remember there's a Halo 2 map called Lockout that's pretty popular. So then I just decided Lockdown. And I always wanted to rename it, but then I just never did.
Yeah, I thought that was a COVID reference.
Oh, no. No, it's supposed to be that, like, yeah, the outpost that the humans are, because they're just kind of occupying this ancient outpost in the story, and it's supposed to be that they're trying to lock down their security or whatever, but they're kind of being stupid about it.
All right, so now we're at Central Command. I think that's probably good enough for now.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys next time.
See ya.